That's Walker Crown. They're from Windsor, Ontario. They're one of the latest artists to join us on the label Indie Tunes Records. They got a new single coming out. It's called Ecstasy. It drops this Friday, January 30th. You can get it wherever music is sold. You can get it at indietunes.com or indietunesrecords.com for that matter. That is where you'll be able to find that particular track and a whole bunch of other really cool music. I got some great news. The Helix album, their brand new album, Scrap Metal, it's only been out 5 days. It just broke 200,000 streams. Now, that's quite a landmark, and that is quite a milestone, considering that the average listeners on there are like, I don't know, 2 listeners per. So that's like 100,000 people that have listened to that track so far, just on Spotify alone. let alone on our website. You can stream the music on our website for free. All of our artists' music can be streamed on our website for free, purchased for $1 a track. That's right, $1 a track. You can buy those tracks off IndieTunes.com for $1 a track. Cheaper than a cup of coffee. And it will last you a lifetime. And besides, you won't have to wear out the CD. You won't have to wear out the vinyl. You can keep it in pristine condition. All right, tonight's show. Well, let's get to it because we're going to talk about publishing. We're going to talk about music publishing. Now, that sounds kind of dry, but it's not really a dry topic. There's a whole lot of things we're going to discuss tonight that are involved in the sense of music publishing. And here to help me tonight is a guy from Windsor, Ontario. He's a bassist. He's in Dave Fogerty's Commotion. And those guys are going to be doing a whole bunch of touring all over the U.S. in 2026. His name is Michael Muscat. Here he is. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have you here, brother.
Great to be back.
All right. So we're going to talk about music publishing tonight. And I said to you it was kind of a dry subject. And you said, no, maybe it's not.
True. Because there's a lot of things that musicians don't still understand about publishing, And,
right.
like publishing versus master's rights and stuff like that, it's wildly misunderstood. So.
Yeah. And the thing is that when people put their music up on download and streaming platforms, it was always sort of this shotgun approach to, we're going to put music out there and we're just going to see who listens to our music. But the problem was a lot of times their tracks weren't properly encoded. There wasn't correct information in there. The tracks weren't meta tagged. And I can remember back in my early days of doing this. Let's go back to 2016. So the record label's been functioning now for 10 years. This year is our 10th year. Yeah, it's a milestone year for us. And, we started off with a couple of artists on the label way back then. And we've grown to the point where we're, sitting right around 24 artists on the label currently. We've had artists come and go in those 10 years. Some of them on to bigger and better things. Some of them don't even exist anymore. It's just, kind of one of those things that happens in the world of music. Here today, gone tomorrow.
Sure.
So you talked about some different things in terms of music rights. And there's a whole lot of music rights involved in music. So we got mechanical royalties.
Mm-hmm.
Those are paid when music is reproduced, including physical sales, vinyl, CDs, and digital streams or downloads. So let's say you want to record your favorite band's song and put it out as your version of the song. You would have to purchase the mechanical rights in order to do that.
Absolutely.
And those mechanical rights come in various ways and shapes and forms. There's different companies that sell the mechanical rights and make sure the rights holder gets the music. Now, Michael, you know this part that's wildly understood because a lot of musicians and artists are out there whining and complaining that they're not getting paid royalties, and yet maybe they're not the rights holders.
That's right. It's like a lot of times when you're in a band, you come out and you write great music and you want to put it out there, but there's a lot of times when you put it out there, you're missing money, so to speak, by not, doing, it doesn't get stolen. It just gets unclaimed in a way, so like, live sets are not reported. Like you said, covers are, played on the radio for our songs, maybe used online without proper registration, and it could get kind of tricky sometimes, or not registered properly, like you were saying. So we go out there and we start, putting stuff on YouTube and just it's not coded properly, and you just send it out there and it gets dead in the water. It doesn't get a chance to even get out to the right people. If it's not being seen, you're not getting paid.
And here's the thing. So way back when I started the record label, we were submitting music to online radio stations, internet radio stations, terrestrial radio stations, and they used this term, are your tracks tagged? And I'd often see them posting on social media. I got a whole pile of tracks from artists wanting me to play them on my station, but they're not tagged. So that meant that those tracks were devoid of all the metadata that would provide information about who owns those tracks, who's played on those tracks, who owns the rights to those tracks, who owns the master's rights, which is the ISRC, which is an International Standard Recording Code.
Right.
And you can either register for an International Standard Recording Code, or they can be assigned for you. There are many download services or upload services that provide random ISRCs to artists who are posting their music to CD Baby and on DistroKid and on TuneCore and all the like, Ditto and a few others. They'll provide you a random one. However, technically they are usually US ISRC codes. If you're not an American artist, then using an American ISRC code doesn't really denote who you are and what your origins are.
Right.
So that creates a problem. And we're going to talk about these unclaimed royalties. Have you heard about black box royalties, Mike?
I'm not very familiar with it, no.
So black box royalties is essentially unclaimed or unmatched music royalties. There's hundreds of millions of dollars that are sitting in what they call the black box for royalties. And these are unclaimed or unmatched royalties. So the companies that pay the royalties on those tracks have been unable to find the owner of those tracks because the track maybe did not have an ISRC code, which is an International Standard Recording Code attached to it, and that ISRC code may not have been registered to a rights holder. And we know that rights holders aren't always the musician. The rights holder could be the record label. The rights holder could be the publisher.
Right.
The rights holder could be anybody that actually published the music in the first place or actually recorded the music. And it's quite conceivable that the artists themselves could be the publisher. They could also be the owner of the master recordings. And they could also own the mechanical rights to those songs if they own the publishing rights for those songs. So there's a whole lot of things involved in that. And then we'll talk a little bit later about sync licensing, which is a whole nother kettle of fish. And we might get to that one tonight. But in the black box royalties, there are some estimates that this pool is accumulated as much as $1 billion to date.
Wow.
That's a lot of
That's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of dead money. Yeah.
A lot of dead money. And that money's sitting there. The royalties rights collection societies that can collect music on your behalf, collect royalties on your behalf, some of that is performance rights royalties that would be from organizations like SOCAN, which you register your music with for what they call performance rights. Those are performance rights. Yeah, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and a couple of others. They register music for performance rights. So music that gets played on radio and other places, they will claim royalties on behalf of the artist, and then they take their slice up front, and the artist gets the remaining piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are also...
So the PRO actually tracks the plays, right?
The PRO tracks plays. However, this is something that a lot of people don't realize.
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
The majority of radio stations are not PRO compliant.
Right.
Meaning they don't submit their playlists. So
right.
I'm radio CZY, but I never submit my playlists. So the artists that I use the music for on my radio station never get paid for those plays.
Right. Exactly.
There is a legal requirement for anyone playing music that has an ISRC code to register a license to be able to play said music and submit their playlists to a PRO, or performance rights organization.
That's right.
But a lot of people don't do that. Now, some artists refuse to join PROs, and they have reasons for that as well. One of those reasons is they don't want the venue where they're playing to get charged for their songs because they're already getting paid to play there.
Right.
So it's technically the venue's job to register the playlist. Even if you're a cover band.
Exactly.
If you were a cover band playing other artists' music at your show, you or the venue, by law, are required to register that playlist with a performance rights organization. So let's say you're playing, I don't know, let's say you're a tribute band and you're playing AC/DC. You're an AC/DC tribute band. You should be submitting your playlist to a PRO every time you play a venue, or that should be part of your deal that the venue must submit the playlist to the PRO. And that ensures that the rights holder gets paid every time their music gets played. Right? So, and here's an interesting one that I found out not long ago. Sirius XM was never always 100% compliant.
Really?
And everybody's like, oh, I want to get my music on Sirius XM. Well, there's been some issues with Sirius XM. I don't know about Stingray and a couple of others.
Yeah.
But there are the majority of radio stations out there are not PRO compliant. Now, I know a few that are, and it's because they understand that they have an obligation and they want to make sure that the artist gets paid when their music gets played on their station. Now, a lot of radio stations can apply for what they call blanket licensing. And that is the blanket licensing is usually based on the radio station's revenue.
Correct.
So if you're not making a lot of revenue, you're not going to pay a lot for your license.
That's right.
Right? It's scaled. It's scaled based on reporting revenue for radio stations. And because they all have to file taxes, it's pretty easy to figure out what your revenue is. So that in itself is a no-brainer. It's pretty easy. But again, not everybody is 100% compliant. Now, if you're an artist and you're submitting your music to radio for plays and you want to get paid for your radio plays, what's the first thing you should be asking the radio station?
That's right.
Right?
Exactly.
You know, are you PRO compliant? Do
That's
you
right. Got to be compliant.
Do you submit your playlist to a PRO? No, we don't. Okay. Do you direct listeners back to where my music lives on Spotify and iTunes, or if it lives on a website, do you direct listeners back there? No, we don't. Okay. So what do I get in return for my music that I send you to play on your radio station? Oh, you get exposure.
Exposure to what?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what you get exposure to. But
exactly.
Isn't that the same as the bar owner that says, you know, we're not going to pay you because you're an unknown and you can play here for exposure. We'll give you some beer and wings.
Right. It's the exact same thing.
It's really the same principle, and it's a flawed principle.
Absolutely.
Right? It's one of those things that continues to make music worthless. Now, we know, those of us that create music know that music has an innate value. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How many hours do you spend in a studio laying down bass tracks, Mike?
Quite a few hours. You know what I mean? Like, it could be, days getting everything right and mixing it down the way it's supposed to be. So, yeah, it takes a long time.
And for this particular act that you're in right now, you had to go out and buy a whole lot of professional gear.
That's right. Still doing it. I'm still in the middle of it. Yeah.
And so there's an upfront investment there. And the only way an artist is going to recoup that investment is to make money when they play, or money off their music, right?
Right. Exactly.
You can't play for free, and no one should allow anybody to play their music for free unless it's intentional.
Sure.
Unless you think that, hey, this is maybe a good idea. Now, if you're an unknown, there may be some benefit in you doing that.
Yeah.
But you
Because at
have
least it
to
gives you some exposure, but it's still very small in the grand scheme of things, right?
Right. I mean, my belief is that we should hold people's feet to the fire. And how you hold people's feet to the fire is simply by saying, look, we want to make sure that our music has an opportunity to gain a following other than just on your radio station. So
Right.
can we do a shout out on your radio station? Can we do a
Yes.
20-second call out on your radio station? It
That
says,
would be great.
right. So for example, we've got, our friends at Walker Crown. Okay. So Connor Rumfeld says, I want to do a 20-minute call out, right? This is Connor. Yep. This is Connor from Walker Crown. You can find our music on Spotify and on iTunes and anytunes.com. And you're listening to blah, blah, blah.
Right. Correct.
Right? You could do a 20-second call out and direct people back. And you could record those call outs and send them out to your radio stations when you submit your music and say, we don't want you playing our music unless you play our call out.
Yep, that'll be the deal. Because it gives the audience that call to action, right? So at least you're still getting that connection and you're still reaching out somewhere for them to go, because they won't do it, right?
I know this guy, Rick Labonte, says hi.
Hey, Rick. How's it going, buddy? He's a gentleman.
Brent Durner at Red D Film says, artists need record companies like Indie Tunes to make sure your ISRC codes are added to your songs. How else will you ever get paid otherwise? It's one of the ways, right? One of the things that we started embedding in tracks more recently is ISWC codes. Do you know what those are, Mike?
I was just starting to learn about the other coding when I met you. So you know what? I'm going to defer to you to that one again.
All right. International Standard Work Code.
Okay.
Now, that is a number that you get assigned. It's a one-time number. So we'll talk a little bit about ISRCs a little bit later, how they can change and variate. But your ISWC never changed. That is the number that SOCAN, CSAC, BMI, ASCAP gives you when you register your written work. It's an International Standard Work Code. It denotes the actual work, and it denotes ownership of that work. And if you've registered on both sides of the PRO, there are two sides of the PRO. There's the publishing side and there's the writer's side.
Right.
So the writer's side shows who wrote the song.
Correct.
If the song is written by co-writers, then those co-writers should be registering with the PRO as well. If you do not register with a PRO and you're sharing writer's rights, you will never see your share of your royalties. Right? They have to know who they're paying the royalties to. And when you register, you have to provide banking information and you have to provide documentation that proves who you are. Right?
Yeah. So there's basically kind of like I said earlier, I guess there's like basically two paychecks to it, right? So you've got master side, and then you have the recording side, and then you've got publishing side, and then composition. Right?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of different royalties that an artist can collect if they own everything. Michelle Trafford says, "Hey, Mike."
Hey, Michelle.
And Eric Broadbent from How's That?
Oh.
Says, howdy, boys, listening while working.
How's it going, man?
How's That's another band that's joined the label this year, and we're going to be publishing their music as well. What's this? It's a permanent ID code for musical composition, the lyrics and the melody of the song. Correct. That is only one code. And then the ISRC code is a code that is never stays static. So let's say you release a song, says, please release me. Okay. If you release that song, you release it under the first ISRC code. Let's say you re-record that song at a later date and re-release it. it should be re-released under a new ISRC code.
Right.
If that song is remixed and remastered or remixed only, any fundamental changes to the track and a new ISRC should be assigned to it.
Correct.
And the ISRC can be either purchased or registered by the artist. There are a series of 5 letters and numbers that denote the actual code itself. Then there's the year, and then there's the trailing numbers that denote the track numbers as they get published in the year. And of course, the year changes from year to year. But the actual beginning part of the artist code always stays the same. So it's really interesting, and she's got this right. Okay. So, Lise, thanks for sharing that. Unlike the
great.
ISRC, the ISWC stays the same no matter how many times a song is covered or remixed. That's right. But the ISRC can change. Sometimes an ISRC will change when an artist gets signed to a label. And there's a whole lot of reasons why that might exist. It could be everything from royalties collections to royalties rights that have changed, a whole lot of other things in terms of the masters. Now, if you own your digital masters, then you should be generating your own ISRC code.
Correct.
Unless you're working with a record label and you've agreed that the label is going to use their code because you want everything all under one roof, so to speak. That doesn't necessarily mean that the label is going to claim the royalties on it. It just means it's their ISRC code, which technically ends up becoming the artist's ISRC code.
Right.
Because they use that code to register the repertoire where the royalties will be collected. Now, oftentimes, for me, for example, I collect the ISRC royalties on behalf of our artists because there are so many places that we go into to collect royalties from our artists. So we collect royalties from Facebook, from Instagram, from TikTok, from YouTube Red, from YouTube ads, from all the download and streaming services. There's a whole bunch of different places that we collect royalties from, including sync licenses. Let's see what she says here. She says another point. A song that has one ISIC, even if it has 50 different versions on Spotify.
The
That's
ISWC.
Right. Sorry, the ISWC. Sorry, the ISWC stays the same even if there's 50 different versions. That's right. That ISWC can only be modified at the point of origin if there's a new writer involved or new sharers come into play. But that can be done at the point of origin. So let's say at the time you registered the song, your writing partner was not registered with SOCAN, and they said, look, I want you to go ahead and register the song. Because I just don't have time to register now, but I'll register later.
Right.
That piece can be cleaned up in the background at a later point in time and can actually be done sometimes online or oftentimes with the help of an assistant at the royalties rights, at the PRO. So some different things you can do in that regard. Now, the ISRC is a digital fingerprint that shows that song belongs to a rights holder. And that rights holder, this thing keeps popping. There we go. All right. So when you publish a song, that ISRC becomes a digital fingerprint that tracks the sale of that track across the internet. That ISRC can also be embedded in physical media so that the physical media can be used to track sales, especially if you're looking at what we're doing right now with the Helix music. We want to track every sale. We've got CDs, we've got digital downloads, we've got streaming, and we've got vinyl. So we've got 4 different avenues where we're tracking sales. Do you know why that's important?
Yeah, because you got to be able to have it all in line and have it going through the same coding, right? You can't change it.
That's right. And also there are certain awards, such as applying for gold record status. Gold record status in Canada is 40,000 units. Now, 40,000 units, there's equivalents to streaming, there's equivalents to downloads. But here's the interesting thing. A digital download of an album, as long as it's 10 tracks, 10 tracks, there we go. As long as it's 10 tracks, it's the same as a vinyl or CD sale. So those get tracked specifically. Streaming is a whole different animal. It takes a number of streams to be able to equal one physical sale. And there are a whole lot of different qualifications for that in terms of how that comes about. So there's that piece. The other piece is if you're registering or nominating an artist, say, for a Juno Award, there are several Juno Awards and several American Music Awards that are associated with record sales. So if you don't have a way to be able to track the record sales across various mediums, you can't prove those sales in terms of being able to say, yeah, we do meet the standard for gold status for this record. And there are various protocols even for singles. We'll maybe talk about this on a future show because there's a whole lot of protocols that get involved in that in terms of gold and platinum sales for singles, as well as gold and platinum sales for records, which traditionally were LPs or vinyl records. Now it can be a combination of vinyl, CD, digital downloads, and streaming. The 3 that are equivalent, though, and I'm going to say this again, are CDs, vinyl, and digital downloads of albums. So every time you download one of our artists' albums off our website, that counts as a 1-unit sale. The same as if you'd purchased the album on CD or whether you purchase it on vinyl. The cool thing about getting the vinyl or the CD is that you have a tangible product in your hand. I can't get both my hands in here for some reason. You get both your hands in there. I got this wide angle thing going on here. And so when you do digital downloads off a website, what it allows you to do is play those tracks as many times as you want, but keep your vinyl or your CD in pristine condition. Let's say it's a signed copy and you want to keep everything wrinkle-free. You want to keep everything unmarked, keep it in pristine condition. Download the album. You can listen to it as many times as you want. You can take it with you on your phone. You can download it to your personal library. And, because phones store so much data now, you can download it in high-resolution format and Bluetooth it in your vehicle, listen to it on your earbuds, whatever.
Right.
You can also take those tracks and turn them to ringtones on your phone.
That's true too, right? You can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of really, really great things available about that stuff. So there's some really, really cool things you could do. There are a whole bunch of, she talks about a piece of software, metadata management. That's one of them. We do all the metadata and encode all the tracks for our artists because we embed not only the industry standard, but we also embed data that can be read by Grace Note. Now, do you know what Grace Note is?
Yes.
So do you want to explain what Grace Note is to our audience?
It's always hard for me to explain that one. It's just this the system that you use, right?
Right. It's a system that's in every automobile, been in almost every automobile since the early 2000s. And it's a system that allows the audio system in the car to read the metadata on the track. Now, if you have an advanced metadata track reader, you'll be able to read everything that's embedded in the tracks on the new Helix album, which includes the small story behind each track. Most people don't embed that data. We started doing it just as a bit of an experiment. And then I saw it for the first time and I'm like, this is pretty freaking cool.
That must have looked cool, actually.
It's the same as syncing tracks to the albums now, right? So if you go on Spotify and you listen to Helix on Spotify mobile, you will see the lyrics scrolled as the song is being played. And you can sing along to it just like your favorite karaoke song.
Right.
And you can also see clips of the band. And all the clips we did on that album were, I believe, filmed at Casino-Rama in Aurelia.
Oh, cool.
So it's current. It's another visual that helps people see what the band is like when they're playing live.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about it is that people are also turned on by the visuals when they look at the visuals on the album, and it goes, oh, this is who the band is. I've never seen them. Oh, this is what the band looks like. Oh, they move around a lot for a bunch of old guys, right? So there's some really, really cool things in terms of what you can do with music these days when you're actually publishing it.
Yeah. The crazy thing is it's what's hard is you got musicians out there who don't know this, right? That don't realize that they have this access. And I think that's where, it gets kind of weird for everybody because we don't realize it. We're like green behind the ears. We're like, well, we just have a song. And we want to be able to know who to go out to, who do you reach out to. So those things can be done because that's how you have to rely on Indie Tunes records and publishing companies as well, right? So they can help you get to that.
And the interesting thing about that is that why we do this for the artists is it frees them up to be creative, right? I mean, they're
artists.
they didn't do this because they want to get involved in the minutia of publishing the music. In publishing the music, there's a number of things you want to do that are make sure they're done correctly. You follow a specific workflow and you establish a set standard, right? Just like that ISO standards, right? Everybody that's worked in a factory knows what ISO standards are, right?
That's right.
These are very specific standards that are part of the digital world. And I can tell you this with confidence, even major record labels have gotten this wrong. So that is that in itself is another thing. The other thing is that the ISRC always helps too, the streaming platform to track how many times the song has been played. Right. So it's for a whole lot of stats and a whole lot of data that is gathered in terms of tracking music and then also tracking unique IP addresses where people listen to the music from. This is also how Spotify and iTunes and a few others now who are employing this service can detect when someone is using bot farms to falsify streams. And I can tell you with confidence that there are artists out there that have been sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars for fraudulent streaming. Don't do it.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. Yeah. And they're starting to crack down on it from a legal standpoint. In fact, there's even been some AI companies that are being sued for copyright infringement. I believe there's a couple of major lawsuits from the major record labels right now in that regard. So it's interesting how these things unfold over time, right?
Right.
So the cool thing about it is that it's there for anybody. And I can't bring just anybody and everybody on our record label, because I have a finite number of people that I can manage their work for comfortably and keep it comfortable.
Sure.
for
That
me
makes
and
sense.
for the artist, and be able to meet deadlines. But I also help people to register their music independently to make sure they're doing it correctly. And there's a process. You have to follow that process, and it takes a while. Sometimes you get it wrong the first couple of times, and you learn each time you do it. And you go, oh, I should have done this. Oh, I missed that. Oh, I didn't put this in it this time.
Right.
Making sure that if you're using any kind of tagging software, that you're building a template that you can use from release to ensure that it's consistent. So that
So
your meta
for you as a record in the position that you're in,
right.
when you take a band in, your process flow for getting everything done correctly, like how labor intensive is it for one band?
Well, I mean, to properly meta tag a track. So we do both. So the artist will send me a wave master. I will render down an MP3 off that, and those have to be meta tagged separately. There's no software where you can do them both together, and you have to do them separately. So you're going back and forth and doing cross checking. I use two screens, and we'll
Okay.
pop them up on two screens so I can make sure that the data is the same all the way through both of those tracks. The MP3s are used for promotion, they're used for radio. We never use wave masters for anything but anything the artist is going to produce. So if they're going to do a video that's going to go up on YouTube, or if they're going to do a video and we're going to upload it to Vivo for them, or we're going to upload it to half a dozen different streaming platforms that now stream videos, because now we've got streaming services now that are picking up music videos.
Oh, okay.
So MTV and Much Music didn't die. They exist now in the streaming world. And if you have a premium service, you can watch music videos uninterrupted, commercial free. And they have very, very specific parameters in terms of how you can upload videos, meaning that it has to be just the art form alone. No lower thirds, no lyric videos. It has to be artwork that actually describes the track. So you're watching this, you're watching and you're listening. As the track unfolds, you're seeing a visual of what the artist is singing about. And that's what they're really after. They're after those two different art forms to sort of be amalgamated together. So it becomes an immersive experience. You're listening to the music, but you're also watching the
Watching
video,
it. That's right.
right? And so it's encouraging the pure art form of video making as opposed to anything else. And they're really not even going, the other direction of saying, you can't, they don't even want using AI. They want this pure art form and they want it as humanistic as possible. Lisa says, we're artist centric. Yes, we are. Art before commerce is our is how the label was established in 2016. That has never changed. Everybody on the label is not motivated by money, because if they were, they wouldn't be publishing their music for digital. Digital does not pay well unless you're getting millions and billions of streams.
Right.
So let's talk about that for a second, because there's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of people bitching about Spotify not getting properly paying artists. But you and I've had this conversation before, Mike. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of it's tricky, right? Because again, a lot of bands don't understand how the whole system works, right? The idea of how just to stream, streaming checks are tiny, say for example, but publishing can be a longer memory, right? Of sorts, So it's bands get confused when it comes to that,
Yeah, and people forget why digital services came into being in the first place, right? Go back to the days of Napster and LimeWire
Oh God,
before
LimeWire.
digital streaming services began. This all started off with an innocent thing called file sharing, right?
Right.
And if you had a computer back in the early 2000s, you file shared music files with people.
Hmm.
And you'd find an MP3, but a lot of people were pirating those MP3s. And they were uploading them to services like LimeWire and Napster.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you could join those services for free, and you could download music to your heart's content.
Right.
And along comes a guy named Lars Ulrich from Metallica,
Metallica. Yeah.
who took Napster to task and said, wait a minute, the rights holders are not getting paid when their music is being traded back and forth. That's wrong. That's music piracy. And the rights holders should be getting paid for their music. It costs a lot of money to make music. I mean, you think about all the hours as an artist, Mike. You know this as well as I do.
Yeah.
Hours of rehearsal, right?
Hours and hours.
Hours of playing live to get
Yeah.
your live show down,
Yeah.
right? Learning your song over and over before you go in the studio to lay
Oh,
down your tracks.
self-rehearsing. I mean, alone, it's a lot. Even the masterminding when you sit together. If you're going to write a song, how much time that takes to sit together and put a
Yeah.
song together.
And then you got the investment of all your equipment,
Yep.
right? Some artists have thousands of dollars invested in equipment, and then they leave their guitar by the back door where they're packing up, and some idiot walks away with a $5,000 Les Paul,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And then, it's going to end up at a local pawn shop sooner or later. But I mean, how wrong is that, right?
Correct.
I mean, these people are already struggling to make it from gig to gig, and people make their life worse. If you want to steal, go steal from somebody who's got a ton of money, not a musician.
That's right.
And I think the other thing that about this is that the misnomer about Spotify is that Spotify pays the rights holder. If the rights holder is not the artist,
That's right.
the artist gets paid by their contract with the record label, which may have zero to do with the streaming service. In fact, a lot of record labels treat streaming services like a lost leader, right? Because they have so many other ways they're making money off the artist through endorsements, through, if they're loaning the artist money to go on tour, they're getting paid back their loan money by the artist who they're on tour. Same from album sales, from CD sales. And so, yeah, they might make money off it, but the payout strategy that was originally negotiated between Spotify and iTunes and the larger streaming services in order to get the catalogs of music they needed to start up a streaming service, they had to broker a deal with the major record labels. Well, they knew they couldn't pay a penny a stream because they would go broke really fast.
Quickly.
Right? Especially when you consider, Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, and those that sell billions of streams. Even at a fraction of a penny, a billion streams is in the millions of dollars.
Right.
So they had to come up with a remuneration system that did two things. Well, actually did three or four things. One of those was to give a payout to the artist that would be decent based on volume of sales. And then the other being that there would be enough money to attract shareholders. So, contrary to popular belief, even Spotify now is owned by investment companies like BlackRock, who own large shares in these companies, and they're publicly traded companies. And so therefore the investors have to get paid decent money on their investments, or they pull their money and go to another investment portfolio. Now, the reason why companies put their money up for shares on the stock market is to raise capital. And that capital is used for a number of things. It's used to open up new avenues. So if you look at what Spotify's done recently, they have ebooks now, they've got podcasts.
That's right.
And they built their system on a platform called Python. Now, if you're a techie and you know anything about what Python is, it's breakneck fast streaming program that's the backbone for all these streaming services. And the streaming services have to sit up on cloud servers, which cost a shitload of money to buy or lease, right?
Yep.
And that's so that millions, if not billions of people can stream the same song at the same time.
Same time, yeah.
And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is look at what happened when what's the guy's name that did the fight? Jake Paul did.
Oh, Jake Paul. Yeah, what happened?
What happened to Netflix, right?
Yeah. It pretty much shut down.
It almost shut down because it got overwhelmed. There wasn't enough bandwidth for people to be able to stream it. It just went completely crazy.
Yeah.
And so these streaming services, especially now that they're offering things like video on demand and lossless content. So lossless content now is, if you're streaming from a service like Apple Music that uses lossless content, you're streaming a Wavemaster, my friend.
Really?
Yes. So that's the other place where we use Wavemasters now. Every single upload we do for an artist now is a Wavemaster. When I first started doing this 10 years ago, they wouldn't accept anything above 128 kilobits a second.
Try doing that now.
Right. So when you look at internet and you look at the inception of internet, if you think back to the days of dial-up, 128 kilobits per second is akin to kind of dial-up. It's very slow.
Very, very slow. Yeah.
And it loses so much dynamic range because the audio is so compressed. You lose things like hi-hats, ride cymbals, crash cymbals, or at least you'll hear fragments of them, but not in their truest waveform, right? Same as guitars. You're going to lose dynamic range of guitars. You're going to lose like dynamic range of vocals and harmonies, all kinds of things. So lossless content now is being offered, and that takes even more bandwidth. Because when you're streaming a lossless content track, you're actually streaming a Wavemaster that can be as much as 100 megabits, which is a fairly large file.
Way larger, yeah.
Right. So try streaming a file that big on an older computer.
It won't happen.
Yeah, it'll choke.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of things that people don't realize where publishing has been, where it's going, and it's still going to continue to evolve over the next few years as we move further and further into the digital age of music. But this year, we're expected to see vinyl sales top $2 billion.
Really? That much of an increase?
$2 billion this year in vinyl sales alone is what is the projected forecast for 2026. That is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
As an artist, and right now, you can produce vinyl for a basic album, Canadian dollars, $14 Canadian out the door.
Really?
Now, that's not heavy grade vinyl. Sure. That's 140 gram vinyl. 5 tracks aside, which is ideal, and a basic cardboard sleeve, which was what the first Led Zeppelin album came in.
That's right.
Right. So you're talking about $13, shrink wrapped. Right. And why not? Why wouldn't you do that and sell them at your live shows? You sell them for $25 each, you're going to make $12 a unit.
That's right.
How many streams is it going to take to make that same $12?
A lot.
But why not do both? Why not sell vinyl and why not stream your music?
Yep.
Now, I say why not sell vinyl? Why not sell CDs? Why not sell digital downloads? And why not sell streaming? So now you got
Streaming.
4 revenue streams just off the audio tracks themselves. This doesn't include things like sync licensing
Right.
and performance rights, royalties, all these other opportunities to create revenue streams.
Right.
Right. The latest and the greatest. Here's the cool thing: you can produce a 30-second reel as many times as you want. As long as your music's been published, you can use your music in the background. And every time that reel gets played in its entirety, you're earning royalties on your music.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Right?
That's brilliant.
I tell artists to do this all the time.
And how many platforms can you put that on?
You can put it on Facebook, you can put it on Instagram, you can put it on TikTok.
Yeah.
That's right. And as long as you use the music, those platforms, when you create the reel on those platforms, they have the licensed music there. And that is how, because we register the music correctly, publish the music correctly, we can collect those royalties on those places. So places we never were able to get music before, Snapchat, right?
Yeah, that's another one.
Another platform. Text messaging. We're earning royalties off people using music and text messaging.
Wow.
You know, and we're talking about music being used on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and then you've got YouTube Red, and you've got regular YouTube, plus you got YouTube Music, and then you got YouTube ads.
That's right.
Right now, if you're monetized on Facebook, you can earn off Facebook ads. Right. So there's a whole lot of ways to monetize yourself and ensure that you're collecting royalties more than just off your music, but your music can be the root for all of that.
Yeah.
Companies like myself, we work with the artists to try and help them maximize those.
That's what I was going to say.
Those revenue streams, right?
Yeah, you need, but like I said, as artists, a lot of times a lot of that gets missed. It's missed money or not earned opportunities because of the simple fact they just don't know enough. And that's why you have to have someone that knows it. So this way you can move, let the artist be the artist, and you do that part where you're getting to take care of those things, and everybody benefits.
Right. So Mike, there's a question there. Do you see that question?
Yeah.
What do you think about Submit Hub for immediate playlist traffic and Groover for deeper A&R or press connections? Have you ever used other services?
No.
You got to be really careful with third-party services because third-party services, sometimes on the surface, they're not connected, but some of them can be joined at the hip with nefarious companies that are known for using bot farms for streaming. And it only takes your music getting added to a questionable playlist that is connected to a bot site for your music to get yanked down. And it's not because it's your fault. It's because somebody took your music and added it to one of those playlists that's connected to a nefarious site. So you got to be kind of careful about that. I would say if you really want to get your music out there, you might want to approach companies like Chipster PR, maybe companies like Michael Brandvold Marketing. Michael did all the marketing on the Helix album, on the CD side for Tom Mathers from Paris Records.
Oh, right on.
And Tom has done CD distribution for a number of artists. Right now, I think Helix is now like number 9 on Amazon.com for CD sales right now.
That's awesome.
So, and that's largely due to Tom's connection with Mike Brandvold, who was the original digital marketer for the band Kiss. And now Mike's got his own company. He works with artists like Wasp and Accept. He's done work for Alan Jackson, Ozzy Osbourne, Britney Spears, and there's a whole list of people that he's worked with.
Nice.
These PR companies can often be very, very lucrative for you in the long run, in the sense that you may have to invest money for them to do their job, but they can help you with press releases on new albums or new music. They can help you get radio interviews and get radio airplay for your music. There's a whole lot of really, really cool things.
Right.
Uh,
And the resources are out there.
yeah, Mike. She says number 6 now. Maybe they are number 6. I'll have to take a look. It's probably changed again. Mike says he enjoys our knowledge. Thanks so much. Shout out to you too.
Hey, Mike.
There's a whole lot of things that you can do in terms of publishing. And then we're already at the hour. Can you believe that?
I know it always goes by so fast. I'm just starting to learn everything, and then it's like I gotta go.
One thing I want to close with, and you and I should do another show on this one, things that you can do for free as a follower or fan that can help your favorite artists.
And there's a lot they can do.
Right. So here's one thing you can do. You can join Spotify for free and start following your favorite artists. You start following your favorite artists, even on Spotify for free, it boosts them up in the discovery algorithms.
That's right.
And people who their music was never on their radar, all of a sudden comes on their release radar. Also, by joining Spotify, even as a free member, you can subscribe to Release Radar. That means every Friday, every new release that comes out comes across your desk. You can take a look at new music.
Yep.
And it's a great way to discover new artists and find out what's out there. Thanks, Lise. Yes, happy to share my knowledge with people. It's like 10 years in the making. Hopefully another 10 years down the road. Like I said, we've got some great successes in 2025, greater successes in 2026, and I'm expecting big things to go even further as we go along. Mike, I wish you the best going forward with Dave and his band of brothers.
Yeah.
And
so I mean, like, if you don't mind too, I can put it in the link in the comment page. I'll put it in the Dave. You can reach out. You can find us at davefogerty.com. And then you can also find us on Facebook, just Dave Fogerty, and you'll see CCR Tribute, and also his artist page. He's got over 3,000 followers, so it's really good. Dave
Fogerty and the Commotion. Check them out. They're going to be coming to probably a theater near you at some point in time. So check him out.
Soon.
My guest tonight, that guy, Michael Muscat. I'm Kenny. You're not. Have a great end of your week, everybody.